I've been getting requests for this map quite a lot, so here we are. And you already know what we're here to do, so wash your hands of all that gamer grease and get your map loaded in. Since this is a 1v1 map, you'll just want 2 player spawns. Feel free to use them for your island start area if you want to. Just set them both to primary group and visible during games off. Now you want to keep these players from leaving this area for the first few seconds of the round while everything behind the scenes is being decided, our loot, our location, and whether or not there will be a storm present. You can use an invisible barrier for this, which you can place underground as shown, with box type set to hollow, and adjust the dimensions however you need to cover your area. Keep in mind we'll need a mutator zone for this area as well, which is why it's important our players don't go anywhere when the round starts. Now place a mutator zone and adjust the dimensions to match the barrier as closely as possible. You just don't want your players outside of the mutator zone for this process or very bad things may happen. Now we're going to set this mutator zone to not allow weapon fire or building, enabled at game start no, enable when receiving from channel 11, and on player entering zone transmit channel 10. We don't want this zone enabled until after the location has been decided. We'll use this zone to teleport our players along with granting them items and resources. All of my behind the scenes devices will be under the map in this maintenance room, as I call it. We'll set up the delay for our mutator zone by placing a timer. Set it to 4 seconds. Make sure auto start stays to on. Complete once yes. Show trigger no. Alarm audio can be turned to off. And when complete, transmit on channel 11. Now we'll give our players a couple locations they could end up. Finest map contains 10 locations. For my example, I'll show you how to set up 4, but the way things are being set up here in a moment, you'll be free to add as many locations as you want, of course limited by channels, memory, and space on your map. But in short, if you want to make like 20 different spots,
it's free real estate.
So we'll start by placing an item granter. Drop 1 bullet of any type of ammo into it, and in the options, set on grant action to keep all, cycle behavior wrap, grant item when receiving from channel 10, and when item granted, transmit channel 19, which is going to be the dedicated channel that handles teleporting. You'll see what I mean shortly. Now let's place a random number generator, and this part is incredibly important and may cause you problems if you don't have this set up properly. We're going to be using the sequencer on this device, so it's important that you don't resize it at all, as it causes the sequencer zone to completely bug out. I recommend just placing it how it is and don't do anything that may upset it. In the options, set the first value limit to 1. Value limit 2 is the number of places you have in total. For me it's 4, but for you it could be 21. And I just set the winning value to 0 because we don't need it. Set the roll time to 2 seconds. Pick each number once. I recommend setting to reset on game start so that typically every location will be chosen before any are repeated. And now the zone option will change the direction the sequencer is played. This doesn't matter much and comes down to your personal choice. I'll set it to forward because it's the most convenient. For the length, I'll set it to 4 or 6. The more locations you're doing, the longer you may want this to be. It just determines how big the sections will be. It doesn't affect how many there are. And I'll be setting the width and height both to 0.5. The height is very important because the zone will not trigger anything above half height due to a bug. So setting it to 0.5 and still placing our devices in the lower half is going to make sure things work when they're supposed to and in a consistent manner. And before we move on, we'll set activate on game phase to game start. Now place a trigger. Set triggered by player and vehicles to off, and make sure triggered by sequencers stays to on. Then just set when triggered, transmit on channel 21. Place this trigger in the first section of the number generator zone. These sections are split up by these white lines. If these sections aren't showing in the right amount, back up your island and then try going back to hub and then back to your island again. This happens a lot to me and even happened while making this map, but it seems to fix itself when the island is loaded again. Make sure the trigger is in the lower half of the zone, and then you can copy it and place the new one in the next zone. On this one, just set when triggered transmit on to channel 22. Repeat this process until all the sections have triggers, which all represent your areas. Make sure to keep increasing the channel you're transmitting on by 1 each time you place a new trigger. For example, my 5th trigger would be channel 25, my 9th trigger would be channel 29, you get the idea. Now, the fun part, setting up your 1v1 locations. Each one will have 2 teleporters for our players to arrive at. In your first area, place a teleporter wherever you want one of your players to be dropped, and in the options, set group and target group to none, enabled during phase none, set the team to team 1, set these 4 options to no, face player in teleporter direction yes, teleport to when receiving from channel 19, our dedicated teleporter channel I mentioned earlier, and enabled when receiving from channel 21. Now simply copy this teleporter and paste it wherever you want your other player to spawn in this area, and then just set the second teleporter to team 2. And that's it for getting players to this area, but I recommend rotating your teleporter so that your players spawn in facing each other. This really depends on your design, but it's a lot easier for people when the teleporters are at least facing the direction they need to go to find the other player, so they don't end up going the wrong direction and getting lasered from behind. For your other location's teleporters, you're free to copy one from this area, and in your second location, paste it wherever you'd want one of your players to spawn, and in the options, just update enable when receiving from to channel 22. Then, copy this one and paste it where the second player should spawn and set the team differently. Each location having 2 teleporters should have one for Team 1 and one for Team 2. This will help randomize players' spawn locations even further. Now we want our players to get randomized loot, but not just a full random loadout like you'd normally do. No, this needs to be realistic. Well, at least a little more randomized than usual. In realistic 1v1s, some rounds you get a shotgun, AR, and some heals. Other rounds you get a full loadout. Some rounds you get absolutely stacked. You get the idea. This is what we're aiming to achieve, and of course I have no way of knowing the exact formula of the best possible way to set this up, but the way I've done it in this video will achieve similar results. And of course you're free to play around with the weapons and items as you wish. First, place an item granter. Set on grant action to keep all, grant condition to only if space, cycle behavior wrap, and cycle to random item when receiving channel 10. Now copy this one and paste it until you have 8 of them total. The last item granter you placed we're going to use for materials and ammo, so go ahead and drop all of that in the item granter, and for the amount of mats you drop in, this is what I've seen most commonly used in realistic 1v1 maps. Now in the options, set grant all items, grant condition always, and instead of using cycle to random item, set that to no channel, and now we're going to set grant item when receiving channel 10. Now, going back to the first item granter you placed, drop in your shotguns you want available, then on the next one, drop in your ARs, the one after that can be your SMGs, the next one can be snipers, the one after that drop mostly white heals like bandages, medkits, small fries, and then throw in some minis if you want. And then in the next one, drop some stronger heals like half pots, chug splashes, slurp fish, etc. The next item granter can be your wildcard items like grenades, rocket launchers, harpoon gun, C4, stink bombs. It's really up to you. Now here's where things steer off in another direction. We want to have some of these items always appear like shotgun and AR and at least something good to heal with, but we want other items to be randomized. So to do this, go to your SMG granter, set enabled on game start to no, and set enable when receiving from channel 5. On your sniper granter, set enabled on game start to no, and enable when receiving from channel 8. And on your white heals / minis granter, set enabled on game start to no, and enable when receiving
channel 6.
And on your wildcard item granter, set enabled on game start to no, and enable when receiving channel 9. Now let's place a random number generator. We aren't using the zone on this one, so feel free to shrink it down like I do. In the options, set value limit 2 to 2, winning value to 2, roll time 2 seconds, visible during game and play audio to no, activate on game start, on win transmit on channel 9, and on lose transmit
Channel 6.
This one will randomly choose between having a wildcard item or having white
Heals.
Now copy this number generator and paste this one to the side. On this one we can set on win transmit channel 8 and on lose transmit no channel. This one determines whether a sniper will be granted or not. Now copy this one and paste it to the side and set this one to on win transmit channel 5 and leave on lose transmit to no channel. This one decides whether an SMG is added or not. These items will only be granted if there is space, so you don't have to worry about your players getting any extra items. The way to make storm fights randomized would start with placing a random number generator. I set my values between 1 and 10, winning value to 0, and set your zone forward or whichever direction is best for you. Then you can actually copy a trigger from your random location generator, bring it back and place it in the 6th section. Then in the trigger options, change when triggered transmit to channel 3. With the generator set up this way, these are the results I had in terms of how often the storm would appear. Now, far in the corner of your map somewhere, place a basic storm controller. Set generate storm on game start to no, initial radius to 5, wait time and resize time to their max, damage to 1%, move time to the max, and set generate storm when receiving from channel 3. Having a message pop up that tells you which location was decided for the round is very easy to do. Go to where your random location generator is and place a HUD message device next to the trigger for your first location. Set the message to your location's name, time from round start to off, message priority critical, placement top center, and show when receiving channel 21. This channel matches the trigger for the location. Now you can copy this message device and paste it beside the next trigger in the zone. Update the message to correspond with the second location and update the show when receiving from to channel 22 to match the trigger. You can repeat this process down the line until you have a custom message
for all of your locations.
Now for the island settings. Go to My Island in the pause menu and on the Game tab, set voice chat to all, set teams to 2, team size split evenly, spawn limit 1, total rounds is your choice, team rotation every round to help further randomize where players teleport to, and I leave my time limit on none for this kind of map, win condition should be most round wins, last standing ends game on, join in progress spectate in case other people want to watch your 1v1. Now go to the settings tab and set your starting shields to 100%. Make sure infinite ammo and resources are off. Set harvest style to battle royale. Make sure fall damage is on. And glider redeploy is off. And set player names and locations to hide. Now go to the UI tab and you can change your map screen display to show either the scoreboard or the entirety of your map. Make sure game end callout is on win lose, and you can also set custom victory and defeat callouts. Then, as always, remember to go to the tools tab and make a backup of your island. Thank you for watching, let me know what video you'd like to see next, and that's all.